doing stand-up comedy in a room, which is a stand-up comedy room, where that is so much pressure. There I was in Perth. I'd failed university. I was like, I'd put all my chips on this crazy comedy dream. And the first night I walked on stage, I was so nervous, and I had not prepared jokes, and certainly not well enough. And I got absolutely no laughs. And it was like I was telling those people that I was a loser. And it was like, it was humiliating, and the room there was no backstage, so you had to walk through the room when she'd finished on stage, and oh God, it was a long walk. There was probably only 60 people there, but that was the worst moment of my life. It was so bad.
And what made you want to get up again and start doing it? Yeah.
Well, you know what, I actually thought, and I was humiliated, and you know, I was in Perth living with another guy from Warrnambool at the time, Rat Day, good mate of mine to this day. And I got back to the little flat that we were renting, and he said, "How did you go?" And I said, "Not very good." And he said, "You know why?" And I said, "Oh, not really." And he looked at me and said, "Because you're not funny." I'm like, now me and Rat are still good mates, but that was a brutal assessment of what I was doing. But, you know, and I was so humiliated, but I thought, if I don't go the next week and try to do it again, I will never do it, ever. So I summoned up the courage and went back to that same comedy venue a week later and got back on stage. And I didn't get many laughs, but I kept my composure, something I hadn't done the first week. And the second week, what I talked about was the fact that I'd been so unfunny the first week. And that's when I probably realized that in your failure is the seeds of your success. Because when you can see your failure as funny, well, then you can't be defeated. So yeah, it was fine. But then I still didn't do it again for 6 months, or maybe 3 months. I can't remember how long, because I was my mind was so addled by those two experiences. But maybe it was 3 months later, I saw an ad in the local West Australian newspaper that said new comics required. And I thought, oh God, I'm going to have another go. And I rang the number, and I didn't know at the time, but it was the same venue looking for new comics.
Wow.
And the guy who answered the phone said, I remember you from when you tried it before. You weren't that bad. You should have another go. So he said that to me, and I said, yeah, right. All right. I wasn't that bad. And I went back, booked in, got back on stage, and it was the third gig I ever did. As I was walking on stage, something just occurred to me. You're a winner for just doing this. You're already a winner. And it was that thought just relaxed me as I walked on stage. And the laughs I got in that third ever gig, I probably only up there for 5 minutes, but the laughs I got stay with me to this day. I'm still trying to chase those laughs. It was the high. I've never had a high like it before or since. There was that moment where the whole room is laughing, and that I realized, yes, you're right. This is what you're meant to do. And it was the joy of that was just, I'm getting tingles just thinking about it now. It was just the joy of, yes, this is it. You're not a deluded loser who's going to be on the dole forever. You know, this is where you're meant to be. And it was so powerful.
Isn't that amazing that to this day that you still can remember that, and you still remember the feeling that you felt at that time? Because, you know, feelings are so powerful. They're more powerful than words.
Yeah, it was. I floated off that stage, and I was just, again, it was like 50 people in a room. Didn't get paid. It was like 5 minutes. But I was just on such a high that I knew. And since that day, so that was apart from since that day, I've been doing stand-up comedy every single week for the last. What is it? That's 1990. It was 93, I reckon. So it's the last 26 years or 27 years, every week until the coronavirus. This is the longest time I've not been on stage in 27 years.
Wow, that's amazing. And something else that you did, which I think is just so unbelievable, is you started writing affirmations. You used to write affirmations to yourself in your diary, and you wrote things like, I'm never going to stop having a go, have the right attitude, live each moment as it comes, be free from guilt, and the most important one, which is laugh. What made you even think to write those?
You know, I actually started probably back in the time where I was depressed and still probably smoking marijuana and drinking too much. I discovered, self-help books, to be honest. There was a guy actually called, I probably still writes books, I don't know, Wayne Dyer. Dr. Wayne
I love
Dyer.
him.
Oh, really?
He actually passed away a few years ago.
Did he?
Yeah. He is like one of the biggest spiritual teachers that has affected my life.
Yeah, well, there you go. I feel bad that he's passed away, and I obviously lost touch with what he did, but some of his early books really helped me so much. I mean, and I remember being at home back in Warrnambool on the dole, and still not achieving anything, and reading his books. And I remember people, maybe even my parents, just going, "What are you reading?" I said, "This guy really he speaks to me." So yeah, it's funny that you are also affected by him.
He, I think, is one of the absolute kings of the metaphysical kind of spiritual world. And his old books, which I assume are the ones that you read, that I've read.
You'll see it when
recently,
you believe it.
Yeah. They've absolutely touched me. I mean, those learnings now are so useful for today. Nothing has changed. He's so unbelievably powerful. How did you even get onto his stuff?
I don't know. I was probably, I was probably just wandering around again, unemployed, and walked into a bookshop and just saw a book. I can't remember how I got onto it, but it definitely it resonated with me. And it's just, it's trying to tell my children as well that you produce your thoughts. No one else produces them. They're your thoughts, and you're churning them out, and it's your decision. You're making the decision. We're all making our decisions on our attitude, and we're making decisions on how we feel, So, and it came from guys like that who really.
He's got this
inspired me.
amazing quote. I don't know if you've heard it before, and it's I think about it every day, and especially when I get into a situation that maybe is not one that I really want to be in. He says, "When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change."
Yeah, that sort of attitude is, I mean, I read a number of his books, but what I used to say to myself all the time, actually, and I can't remember whether I read this or I made this up, is when you're happy, happy things happen. Decide to be happy first, and then things around you will happen. They will happen. Happy things will happen, but they also you add to that. It doesn't matter whether they don't or not, because you're happy.
Well, that's it. Exactly.
So it doesn't matter what happens, you're already happy. So you actually decide to be happy. And for me, that was part of the reason to give up alcohol and drugs, is that if I'm going to be happy, I'm going to make myself happy. Nothing else has to make me happy. I make myself happy. And now drugs, alcohol, nothing, they don't give other things the power to make your mood good. You decide yourself that your mood's going to be good.